The Desert Tech MDRX Micron coming up. So I'm finally getting around to doing a video on my Desert Tech MDRX. This is currently in the Micron configuration. It has gone through a few different iterations since I've owned it. It started out as a 16-inch 5.56 forward eject with a 1:8 LPVO on it. I eventually got a black label bipod handguard, but I found that it was a bit heavy in that configuration. So that led me down the path of trying to lighten it up. And how else to lighten it up than by putting a shorter barrel on it? And that's what led me to the Micron. Not only did the shorter barrel cut down some weight, but changing it from forward eject to side eject cut down on a bunch of weight. It also made it more reliable. The first like 60 to 100 rounds, I couldn't get the thing to cycle. I was pissed. So much to the point where I put it away. A couple of days went by, I was on a camping trip, and decided to get it out again and give it another chance. The reason why I was so upset, this was and still currently is the most expensive firearms purchase that I have ever made. And the fact that it wouldn't cycle was quite upsetting. I did get it to cycle by taking the forward eject cover off from it, the little chute that kind of kicks the brass forward, and then it was cycling just fine. I ran it like that for a little bit, then I put the cover back on, and then it started running just fine with the cover on. So it was likely just due to a break-in thing. However, with the forward eject, it would not cycle steel cased. The steel is just not soft enough in order to be pushed into that chute. It's just too stiff. I learned that one. In the side eject, it will run steel case, no problem. I also changed out the 1:8 LPVO and went to a 3X micro prism from Primary Arms. That cuts off about a pound there. So like I said, I SBR'd it and put a Micron kit in it, which is the 11.5-inch barrel. But you can see that I have a longer handguard over it. So this is integrally suppressed at the moment with a Yankee Hill Turbo K and a black label ALX handguard. It's nice in theory. It's really compact. It's not terribly heavy as compared to what it used to be, but having the suppressor on the handguard is a major problem. To help fight the heat, I did put grip tape on it with like that rubberized Talon grips. That didn't help. I didn't expect it to make that big of a difference. And then I also got a hot pocket for it, and that made it so that it was just a few more rounds that you could get through before it started heating up, but not many. I do have a Streamlight Rail Mount 1 mounted on here with an Arasaka M-Lock mount. It's kind of like the long straight bar. It tucks it into the side of the rifle, real nice, real compact, and then the tape switch up on top. This is a Strike Industries vertical grip. This is their shorty version. The reason why I went with this over the BCM, which is what I normally go on my rifles, has nothing more to do than the color. The BCM is a lighter FDE or tan, and I just didn't like it, the looks of it aesthetically with the colors of FDE that are on here. It just bugged my OCD too much, and the Strike Industries matches that color a little bit better. The Magpul also matches it a little bit better, but I don't like the shape of the Magpul one all that much. To attach the Magpul sling, I have a Strike Industries QD mount. It pushes it forward instead of going directly 90 degrees off the side of the handguard. It pushes it forward and gets it out of the way. I like these. They work pretty well. The suppressor is mounted via a direct thread mount, and that in itself is a bit of a challenge. So if you own an MDRX, you might know this. If you don't own it, I will help you out. The barrel has to be installed first because of this Picatinny piece on the gas block. Then you have to install the handguard. Well, you can't install the handguard over the suppressor unless you take these mounting parts that are right here out of the handguard. Then you have to reinstall them once it's over the suppressor, which is quite a bit of a challenge. Or you have to thread the suppressor in with the handguard on. Well, that can be an issue with being able to get it tight enough. YHM has some like pseudo teeth on the end. If they put a couple of notches in it like they do the rear part of it, so you could use one of their wrenches. Now that's how I've done it, but it doesn't lock in there quite as good as the notches that they put back here. So Yankee Hill, if you happen to see this, just put a couple of notches up front here. That would help a lot of us out and be able to lock it down a little bit better. That's how I've installed it. I haven't had it come loose by doing that, but it is a little bit more of a challenge. The newer barrels don't have this Picatinny piece, like the Wolverine doesn't have this Picatinny piece anymore. So as far as I know, you can install the barrel with the handguard installed. So that might make things a little bit easier for some people, but I wanted to make sure that you were aware of that in case this is a route that you were wanting to go. Now, as much as I love this aesthetically and actually, I mean, using it, it's great as well, except for the heat. 1 mag gets this suppressor smoking. 2 mags, I can't hold on to the handguard anymore. 5.56 just heats up way too much, and having it integrally suppressed is just not going to work. Unfortunately, because I really do like this setup, but since it's just unusable because of the heat, I'm gonna have to do something different. I'm most likely just gonna go back to a 16-inch barrel because I hate the Micron handguard. Let me throw the Micron handguard on here and show you what it looks like. All right, it's not too difficult to do that. It only took me 2 minutes to do it. The hardest part is just breaking that suppressor loose, but using that wrench, it's not too difficult. So I have a few issues with the Micron handguard, and I think one of them is because it's not continued across the top like the other handguards. There's this big hole right here, and I guess the concept with that is they're gonna have to put a hole in it to adjust the gas block anyway. Well, this is so short that you could easily go in the end and adjust the gas block like that, and they could have continued this across the top, giving you some more real estate, maybe a couple of more M-lock slots, because my biggest gripe with this is the lack of a good option to mount a light. A Micron setup is short and compact. That to me says close quarters. Close quarters to me says light. If you're going out longer ranges, maybe you don't need, maybe a light is less important, but short, compact, maneuverable to me says you need a light. And there's just no good way, in my opinion, to mount a light to this handguard in this setup. Now, I do have a mount on here just so that you can kind of see. Like, this is about the only way that I have found to kind of mount a light on here, but it's sticking way off the gun instead of keeping it nice and streamlined like I have it on the other handguard, and it sticks way out, just way too far. That enables it to be able to get snagged on stuff. The other thing that I don't like, because I did try it with the Streamlight on here and put just the tail cap on there instead of the pressure pad, this handguard doesn't have the locking screws like the other handguards have. It's just got plastic tabs that slide into the rest of the gun, which causes this entire thing to flex. So when you go to activate that light, the light beam is moving and shifting when you go to push it because this whole thing shifts. I don't know how well you can see it. Can you see how much that moves? It moves quite a bit, and when you're mounting a light on there, it's going all over the place. On the end of the handguard, there's a round hole, so I don't know what their thought process was with that. Maybe they were thinking of designing a light to go in there or hoping that somebody else would. But I just think they missed the mark when it came to the Micron handguard. The bottom portion of it is fine. I don't have any complaints there except for the tab that was on the bottom. I did shave mine off. Could have done a better job at it, but I did not. The Strike Industries sling mount I can easily attach to one of the M-lock slots, so that's not a problem either, and it doesn't get in the way. The biggest problem is the lack of good options to mount a light. Just having it stick off the end there or interfering with charging handles, that's just too big of a problem for me, and I don't like it. Now, I'm sure others out there won't have an issue with it sticking off to the side or it shifting like that, but I do. As far as the rest of the gun goes, I think it's one of the best designed guns. Execution, that's a different story. They've had a lot of quality control issues, but as far as the design of the gun, I think it's one of the best out there. Now, the reason why I like the design of this so much is because of how ambi it is. One of my biggest pet peeves is when a gun tuber or a manufacturer refers to something as fully ambidextrous when you have to swap parts in order for a lefty or a righty to use it. It drives me nuts. Something that is fully ambidextrous, in my opinion, is something that you could just hand to one person or the other. Now, I get it. The ejection pattern can be a problem and not be changed easily. Now, the forward eject version wasn't an issue. You could hand that to a left or right-handed person and it wouldn't be an issue. Granted, you could swap the covers for a predominantly left-handed shooter or whatever, but you could hand it to a person and from a right-handed to a left-handed and not be an issue at all. Now, the other parts are what I'm kind of referring to. So we have a charging handle on both sides, we have safety on both sides, and we have mag releases on both sides. We also have a mag release back here, which also makes that ambi. The bolt release is back here, which is ambi. What I really like about this gun in particular is the fact that locking the bolt to the rear. So the bolt lock is back here. But trying to charge it and do one of these numbers and reach back here like you have to do with the X95, it's got a notch. So you can just rotate it up and now the bolt is locked back. I love that. That is a really good design, and now I don't have to reach back here and do that. Although I have seen people do videos and they've said on the last round when the bolt locks back that you just slap it like that. This is non-reciprocating. It doesn't lock back here on the last round. It's back here, and you have to release it back here. This doesn't move, so you're not releasing it here unless you are charging it and locking it back like that. Just wanted to clarify. But the MDRX does not have swappable charging handles. It's already on both sides. The safety is already on both sides. The magazine release is already on both sides. The Scorpion 3 Plus doesn't come with it, but you can install charging handles on both sides at the same time, making that gun fully ambi. The ejection pattern aside, I get it, but at least the controls. The only other gun that I can think of that you could take and hand to a left-handed shooter and vice versa, back and forth, is the PS90, because there's a charging handle on both sides. The safety's in the trigger guard, so it's ambi. And the mag release is on top, so that's ambi. but it ejects out the bottom, so that's ambi. And at this point, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are screaming that I am stupid for wanting stuff that is ambi. Oh well, I prefer ambi. That is me, and I'm allowed to prefer that. My basis for wanting ambi is there are scenarios where you might have to change to your weak side or non-dominant side and be able to run the gun like that, and I like mirrored controls. That way my battery of arms from one side moves to the other, and I don't have to retrain myself for something different. It just carries over, and I like that. You never know why you have to change to another side. You might have an injury to your right side. You might be maneuvering in a way that you have to change to your non-dominant side. So having something that does have ambi controls makes sense in my mind. Now, before I wrap up this video with the MDRX, I do want to bring up the customer service with Desert Tech. I know that a lot of people have had to send theirs back. I haven't had to send mine back to Desert Tech at all. My gripe with Desert Tech is they now have gone to the Wolverine. So the MDRX is discontinued. So one of the things that comes to mind that they did with the Wolverine, first of all, they're getting rid of the forward eject altogether, which is one thing that brought a lot of people to this platform. And I was kind of annoyed that they didn't have the forward eject in the Micron, but I sacrificed that. But I do miss the forward eject because it's very unique. One of the other things that I know that they've changed is they're machining the parts into this upper now instead of having them screw on. So these screws aren't here on the outside anymore. They don't have the steel rails that screw on. It's just being machined out of this. Which is funny because that is the opposite that other manufacturers like SIG are opting to take. They are having bolt-in parts that are high wear areas so that you can replace them. Desert Tech's like, screw it, we'll just replace the whole gun once it wears out. That's kind of weird to me, especially since they keep trying to go after contracts with this design, which I don't think they will ever get, but that's besides the point. My other huge complaint with Desert Tech and their customer service. They said that they will have enough parts to do warranty repairs on the MDRX for the next 10 years. First of all, I doubt it. Second of all, why are you stopping servicing that when you said it had a lifetime warranty and then you're going back on your word? I want to bring up the example of Taurus. Taurus of all companies, and I know people have their opinions about Taurus and not being that great of a company. So my best friend had a Taurus, I believe it's the Millennium Pro. It was a 40 caliber, and he carried that for a long time. It had like rubber grips on it, and those were wearing out, and something broke on it. He sent it back to Taurus to have it fixed under their lifetime warranty. It couldn't be fixed. They no longer had the parts to fix it, and they no longer made that firearm. So instead of just saying you're SOL, like Desert Tech is doing, they're like, well, we can't fix it, so we're gonna send you a current model that we do have. And that makes sense to me. Smith & Wesson does that too. Hey, we don't make this model firearm anymore, but here's an equal replacement. I don't understand it. But Desert Tech, they're like, nope, you're shit out of luck. That's not good customer service. And if you want to be around for a long time, then you gotta fix that. In a future video, we're gonna go ahead and compare the MDRX to the X95 and do a little bit of a comparison there. And if you have any ideas or comments, leave them in the comments section below. Check out the Amazon links in the description. I have some links to some products there, like eye protection, hearing protection, and gun cases, stuff like that, if you are interested. And it helps out the channel just a little bit when you use those. So that's it for this video. We'll catch you on the next project. See ya.